Welcome everyone to this workshop meeting of the Town of Poughkeepsie Town Board for January 14th, 2026. And we'll begin with a salute to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we'll begin with a roll call. I know that Board Member Reuter is on and joining us by Zoom tonight to participate.
I'm Barbara Laird, representing Ward 2.
I'm Shanta Tangia, representing Ward 3.
Emily Watson, Ward 4.
Good evening, Ryan Sharp, Ward 5.
Ann Shershin, Ward 6.
Felicia Salvatore, Town Clerk.
Emily Spencer, Attorney to the Town.
Rebecca Edwards, Town Supervisor. So this is a workshop meeting tonight. We're going to discuss several issues, but there will be no votes taken. I just wanted to have a few announcements at the beginning. The first is that the former supervisor of the Town of Poughkeepsie, Joe Davis, passed away this last weekend. We have the flags at half-mast through his memorial service, which will be next Wednesday. And Miller Funeral Home is doing the arrangements for those who might want to attend. I think there's a visitation Monday with the family and Tuesday, a memorial for him. The second is that next Friday, not 2 days from now, but the 23rd, we're doing something that hasn't been done, at least for a very long while, which is that the town board is going to meet with the City of Poughkeepsie City Council and Mayor in a joint workshop meeting where we'll be getting together from about 10 a.m. to 11:45 and taking a little lunch break in 12:30 to 2, just to get to know each other, share ways that each individual board member may have ideas for how the city and town might want to work together, what kinds of policy issues we might want to work together on. And there are some neighborhoods that are definitely mixed between town and city. So there's some areas where new board members and new city council members can get to know each other and talk about some of those areas and neighborhoods and the challenges facing in those specific areas. So there's not going to be public comment at that meeting, but it will be observable. It's taking place at the Heartwood, the Institute for the Liberal Arts at Vassar. And there's about 15 seats for members of the public that will be first come, first serve. And we have it posted on the website, and we'll post that like any public meeting. And we also have a Zoom link for the folks who may not come in person. So the last but not least, this Monday is Martin Luther King Jr. Day, when we honor his memory. And I just wanted to say a couple of words. It's always seems to me important to stop and reflect on the things that he said and did. In August 1956 in Buffalo, he spoke about the beloved community where people will live together as brothers and sisters, recognizing our common humanity and the importance of working toward that goal. He said, quote, "The forces of darkness cannot permanently conquer the forces of light, and there is the thing we must live by." So I give us that quote to think about as the weekend comes up, the holiday comes up. We begin tonight with public comment for anyone who wants to speak for up to 3 minutes on any item that's on our agenda tonight. That includes the audit report from Shannon Manise of our auditors, RBT. Welcome, Shannon. And includes an overview by Tom Simbari of Labella Associates about the feasibility study for the police and courts relocation to this site, and then a presentation on the overall plan that we have. It's been 2 years in the making, but we have a proposal for how to move forward with police courts and also a town hall community center. So anyone who wants to comment on those items, and then we'll have, again, general public comment at the end. So I move to suspend the rules for anyone who may want to speak for up to 3 minutes.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, the motion carries 6-0. Is there anyone in the room who wanted to speak to the items on the agenda tonight? We usually start with folks who are here in person. Yes, welcome. Come on forward, Feza. You're welcome to state your name and where you live in town, but that's optional.
Okay, so I'm Feza Oktay, Ward 6, and
I hope I'm doing this correctly in terms of order. You said about anything on the agenda, so even though we haven't talked about it yet. So first thing relative to the audit, these are just questions. So this I realize isn't a question and answer. So I'll just state my questions, which maybe they can be answered sometime. One question was if there are any management letter issues from the previous year that have not been addressed. How many adjusting entries were made last year? The report indicated adjusting entries for this year. And is there a statement of activities, and does the audit include any budget to actual auditing in terms of reviewing the budget to actual numbers? So that's for that item.
Okay,
Now, regarding the Labella document, section 1.3, the concept building design approach, states that the project will also focus on renewable energy options designed to follow with the town's New York State climate smart community commitment and the existing town hall's current bronze classification. I see, however, that in what is being proposed, it's a condensing boiler and a chiller. And I really don't see any reference in the document to renewable energy options as far as heating and cooling. And my concern is that going that route basically locks the town into fossil fuel use for the next 15 to 20 years. And in terms of the research that I've done, and I'm not an environmental engineer, so I'll make that clear, but in terms of, the research that I've done, whether it's, a geothermal system, you've got much more efficiency, you have a much longer lifespan, much lower maintenance, almost non-existent carbon footprint. Now, you have higher upfront costs associated with a geothermal system, but again, based on the research that I've done, the test pits that were done as part of their assessment would indicate a good environment for a geothermal system because of the Norman scale formation that they referenced in there, providing high thermal conductivity and groundwater providing a thermal boost. So it's actually a good environment for a geothermal loop. The other thing is, which since geothermal wasn't referenced in the document, am I running out of time?
you're running close, right?
Okay, so real quick, 30% IRA direct pay, that whole system still applies to geothermal. Because even with the bill that was passed eliminating most of those incentives for renewable energy, geothermal is still in there. So the town could get, a huge cost savings, 30% on a geothermal system. So I guess I wanted to just bring that to everyone's attention to ask that it be considered. I even spoke with a geothermal company who said, the nature of the topography here is sort of pretty standard, higher upfront costs, but long-term would be a better solution, I think.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
We'll take duly noted. I don't see Tom Sambari I see him now. He's online. Excellent. So he'll be presenting in a little bit. Okay, is there anyone else in the room who wanted to speak on items on the agenda tonight? Yes, Steve, welcome.
Hi, Steve Osterly's 3rd Ward. Actually going to, talk to a few of you on these, what I'm saying, I'm going to go over tonight, but I'm going to reiterate it, essentially for the record. I'm going to start out with, we need a new police station. I don't think anybody would say the current situation is acceptable or not, but I want to talk almost about needs and wants. So we need a new police station, but there's the want for the community room, all the, the theater, the gym, all these things. And at this time right now, going into a 50, I had it up here, the renovations are proposed here, plus the purchase of the Poughkeepsie Day School property currently without any, the study not being finished on the needed repairs to make it, we'll say critical repairs to make it habitable, plus whatever remodeling costs are, it's, excluding that, it's 51,000, or 51 million. From what I can see from the Mitchell report, the proposal for the entire property, if you take that and take out the Kenyon house, that came to roughly $51 million also. So I really do think that as much as you're already going down this road, we need to look at, is it feasible to leave the town hall here and have the police courts at the Poughkeepsie Day School site? Because my quick calculations, again, not an engineer, not any of those things, it looks like roughly it fits without significant new building there. So I would really like to see a study on that, and I think it's warranted. And I will bring up, 3 years ago when the whole purchase was floated by a previous board, it was out there on the website that, it was gonna be $3 million a year for interest and payments and raise property taxes by 10 to 13%. We're at those same figures, and that was for a 25-year loan, and I believe your presentation is for a 15-year bond. It said from 27 to 14. Maybe that was wrong, or I'm misreading it. So if it's a 15-year bond, which I believe your PowerPoint had, that's over $4 million a year in payments. So I think, that significantly increases the cost. So the one last thing I would say on the Poughkeepsie Day School.
Okay,
I
we're
know-
at 3 minutes, so again, we're near the end.
The subdivision, I guess, it's not clear because it hasn't happened yet, what portion would the Poughkeepsie Day School be keeping as opposed to what the town would be buying?
The Poughkeepsie Day School would be keeping the Kenyon house, which is
But
the,
how much around the Kenyon house?
it's
I
about a
understand.
little over 2 acres, I think, 2.3,
Does
2
that
or
include
something
any
like
of the
that.
sports fields?
No, the short sports fields are a parcel that would be coming to the
I would,
town.
if that's available to see what the proposed thing, I would definitely be interested in that. Thank
Okay,
you.
great, thank you very much. Is there anyone else here in the room who would like to speak on items on tonight's agenda? Okay, seeing none, I'm gonna move to folks who are online. I think the first person I see is Susan Carnes Hecht, welcome.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. You can hear me, right?
We can.
Great. So I just want to say a couple things. I want to start by thanking Fezzo for saying what he did about the sustainable aspect. So I won't repeat any of that except to say that we on the Climate Smart Task Force would like very much to see renovation plans for both of these sites proceed with sustainable renovations in mind, whether it's geothermal or other issues about HVAC. This is an incredible opportunity to green the buildings if we're going to renovate. So that's the first thing. Interested in knowing about the solar array at the day school and what that would look like for the town, because I know it's currently leased. We talked the other night at the task force about if there would be a potential place to put battery storage in there. And so the other aspect of this is both of these locations in an ideal world would eventually be on our list for emergency centers for weather emergencies and power outages and disasters and things like that. So all the more reason to have the right kind of renovation where we have, battery or generator or whatever it's going to be to make those things feasible. That was what I wanted to say, but in response to the gentleman who just spoke, I am a huge fan of getting this very large town a real community center. I think it's incredible, and I think it was established very well a few years ago, all the reasons why the current Poughkeepsie Day School site would be a terrible choice for police courts in terms of traffic and the intersection and the school buses and the nearby location of the school and the library and all those things. I think that is done and well-established business, and I am in support of the way you guys are proceeding. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else online on Zoom who wanted to comment on any of tonight's agenda items? Going once, All right, I don't see anyone else, so I move that we return to regular session. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, the motion carries 6-0. So then we move forward, and there'll be another opportunity for public comment at the end. So the first presentation tonight is by Shannon Manise from RBT, who's our auditors. Welcome, Shannon, thank you for being here. And Tim, can we, yes, excellent.
Good evening.
Hello.
Okay, so we're gonna start on page 2, which is the overall. Okay, so we'd like to thank Manal, Rebecca, and their team for their assistance to get this audit done this year. There were no significant issues that impacted the audit. The town did adopt GASB 101 compensated absences, which was a required pronouncement that needed to be adopted. So they're in compliance with all those requirements. There were no significant or unusual transactions or policies noted during our audit, and we had no disagreements with management. Next slide. So the summary of our audit. The financial statement did receive a clean, unmodified opinion, which is the best opinion that the audit can have. There were 3 internal control weaknesses identified and 1 non-compliance. Those are different from last year in some capacity, but I do believe 2, to answer the gentleman's question before, 2 are remaining based on systematic issues that are still being worked through. There were 5 restatements, and that's really based on adopting the GASB 101 for compensated absences, so we have to change your opening balances. And it did decrease your net position by a little over $2 million, and the governmental funds had a decrease of about $183,000. 51 journal entries were proposed. I do believe, again, to answer his question, that's almost in line with last year. A lot of those entries are reclassifications between accounts just based on where New York State Chart of Accounts wants things coded for AFR purposes. Some are related to joint water because that's how we have to get it into your books and records via journal entry because they are not on your books and records. So that's why that number is as large as it is. If we go to the next page. So cash and cash equivalents. There was a little over $32 million in the bank as of December 31st. And the governmental funds had $31,790,000 just in those funds.
I just wanted to jump in and say that was December 31st, 2024,
2024,
right? Because
yep.
we're still working to close out
Yep,
and do
we're closing
25.
24, yep.
Yep, thanks.
And then if we go to the next page, that is the breakout by fund of where the cash is currently held. You can see all have strong cash balances in every single fund. I know it's a little small on that screen. They all have positive balances. If we go to the next page, bonds payable. So this shows where the town's debt has been allocated over the past 5 years. You'll see it's kind of fluctuated, but in the past 3, it's gone down. So it currently sits at a little over 32 million. Of that, 5.5 is related to the library, and a little over 850,000 is joint water that is held by the town as well. If we go to the next slide, installment purchases. So these are the purchases like a car. So these are the police and highway vehicles. So they're installment purchases because they're locked in for 5 years and then they're over. So you can see as of the end of 2024, there was about $423,000 left on those vehicles to be paid. If we go to the next page. So net position. There are a lot of things that are not recorded on the town's books and records that do affect its final net position. So we like to show where the net position is on the financial statement. So you'll see for 2024, it is a negative $43 million. If we add back liabilities for OPEB, which is your other post-employment benefits, which is the health insurance for retirees and family members, that's $102 million. That factors into why that 43 is negative, and there's also a little over $8.6 million related to pension liability. So the pension liability can be funded, but the OPEB cannot. So that is just a liability that will be on the books and records, but it doesn't actually sit on the town's records from their accounting system. So we have to present it, but it is not on the books and records. So that's why that number is negative. If we go to the next slide. So this is fund balance. So at the end of the day, there was 33,990,000 in fund balance, and it shows you an allocation of by fund. So you can see all but what we classify as non-major governmental funds have strong positive fund balances. The non-major is made up of joint water. Again, you're required to report it on your books and records, but it's not housed at the town, so that was a negative almost $100,000. And the lighting fund is negative $782,000. And that has been due to a loss of $91,000 during 2024 and a loss of $108,000 in 2023. So lighting seems to be the reason for that being negative. If we go to the next page, this is a summary of the capital assets that the town has. So you'll see at the end of the day, after depreciation, there's over $70 million of assets that the town houses. The biggest would be obviously your improvements in your building, or other than buildings, and infrastructure is 3.3, and machinery and equipment is $33 million. Construction in progress at the end of 2024 was 2.5. There was 1.7 that was in process as the end of last year that now got converted to usable assets that now start depreciating. So that's where you see that reclassification column. And there were some disposals of old equipment that maybe got traded in on new equipment. And that is a brief summary of where the town sits currently. I do want to address, I think there was 2 other questions that were brought up. So the full financial statements will have the statement of activities and the budget versus actual for various funds, but it's just not part of the presentation because we don't want to bore everybody with those kind of details. And I think I addressed all of his questions. Are there any other questions?
Board members, I know the finance committee has already, with the comptroller, gone over this with you, and
The town is in a very good, strong financial position, in my opinion, as an auditor.
thank you very much.
Yeah, and I just want to give a shout out to Manal because I can remember her predecessor running around beating up people to, verify their bills and get them paid off well through January and February. So the fact that you got this all tied up and it's only the 14th is amazing. So kudos to both of you.
So, yeah, they've worked together really well, and I appreciate all the controllers' work, and I appreciate RBT's work. I know we had some things in 2024 that, particularly in terms of water billing and things
Yeah.
like that, where there was a
The
lot to
system
work on.
issues, yeah, and we have to wait for joint order to be done, so
Yep.
that's also a timing issue for us. So we're hoping 25 will be better.
Yes,
Thank you
we're
so
moving,
much.
we're starting sooner and hoping to be
Yes,
done
yep.
sooner with that and the AFR for 25. Thank
Yep.
you very much,
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it. Any other questions, board members?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
You mentioned there's a one non-compliance that,
Yeah, so that was, I can tell you. So it is a budget issue based on, and again, we have to go to the requirements that we have to audit by. So they require the budgets to be in balance, and it's based on whether things actually get allocated to that appropriated line. So it's just something that was missed, but unfortunately we have to report on it. It doesn't affect your numbers at the end of the day, and it's already been corrected since then, so.
so the 55, approximately 55 journal entries you are proposing, that includes the non-compliance, fixing the,
Yeah, it fixes all the issues. So based on what our entries are, most of them are really just to get the numbers in the right categories, and the fund balance was to make everything in balance.
all right, thank you.
But there's nothing that would cause these numbers to be materially misstated in any way.
Thank you very much.
I think Councilman Reuter had a question. He's online.
Okay.
Yes, welcome, Bill.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, so Shannon, thank you very much, and team, for all your work. So, are we prepared tonight to talk about the the 4 findings? You mentioned one, but the internal controls as far as public presentation of that. I mean, I know what they are, but on the finance committee, but will that be published, made public at some point in the final report? Is that the idea?
So the financial statement, I'm going to presume, will be put up on your website.
Yes.
It contains those findings.
Okay, all right, so we'll do that at a later time. Now, just for edification, the total cost of conducting this audit, could you shed some light as to what that would be as a cost to the taxpayers
I don't
for the
have,
contractual amendment?
I don't have that number offhand. I'd have to have the engagement letter in front of me and,
You don't have the engagement letter? Okay.
no.
And then, well, maybe you can get it to us, and then were there any additional costs as a result of this audit above and beyond what the contractual rate were? And
So-
what would that be, and any reasons for that?
So there is a second engagement letter above the scope of the audit to assist in areas that the town needed assistance in getting certain things recorded, which is also included in those 51 entries. And that's based on the staffing issues that the town has currently had, you know, in the past 2-3 years in the finance department. So we have
Okay.
stepped in and provided some guidance to get things done and corrected.
I think that was specific to the early part of 2024 where we had no controller
Yep.
for several months and where the department was significantly understaffed.
Mm-hmm.
So we had work to do to get all of 2024 up and
Yeah,
running. Those
yeah.
shouldn't be issues in 25. I'd have to go back to the budget and find the cost, but we can pull up the cost of the audit.
Well, you would have a billing, right, RBT, as far as what that would be, the additional above and beyond. So maybe you can present those or give that to the council and we can understand what that is. That be
Sure.
fair?
Of course, we can share that.
Right, but I'm questioning Shannon. You bill for the additional above and beyond, right?
Yes.
Okay, so maybe we can see that bill in addition to the regular bill.
Okay. I mean, that's
you-
not my
you can-
decision. That would be the board's decision.
Well, I'm asking for it, so that would, if you can do that and it's acceptable to everyone, I'd like to see it.
Certainly.
Just to get an idea of what that would be. So just the last thing is that, I know we're working hard, but just to be clear, this is an audit for 2024 books, right? Is that correct?
That's
Correct.
Okay, so that's, you know, we're now in 2026, so I understand we have issues, but you know, my position is that I would like to be able to get an audit completed, by May, so that we can present it to the New York State Comptroller's Office and get a assessment, a risk level assessment performed as previous administrations had. So I know we're working on that. We've had some difficulties, and I would like to see, I know Manal's in agreement with me on that, so hopefully we can do that this year.
Yes, we will have an earlier audit scheduled this year. Again, those issues from the first part of 24 where we did not have a controller, where we had
Right.
makeup to do, I think are the issues here, and we'll be able to move faster this year.
Yes.
Okay.
But I
All right, very
do
good.
need you to
All right, well, thank you,
understand-
everyone. Thank you,
Wait,
Shannon.
oh,
I'm
wait.
sorry I couldn't be there tonight, so thank
No,
you very much for
listen
your
up.
assistance.
It's okay, there's one more question, one more response that Shannon had.
You are
Okay.
going to be at the mercy of joint water being completed, because that has to be incorporated into your financial statement. So you could be
Yeah.
completely done and ready to go, but if their information is not finalized, this statement cannot be finalized.
Did
I
you,
see.
was that clear, Bill?
Yes, yeah, so
okay, yeah.
I mean, I see that, yeah, that became an issue, that came to light, you know, again, in the 2023 timeframe, and I understand that.
Right. Yeah, we, joint
Okay.
water, we needed to create a whole separate line and get joint water
Right.
boards and our role in the joint water project stated on our books because we carry debt related to that. We have to budget for it. So Shannon has helped
Right.
us over the last year get that on the books so that it's part of, it's reflected, but it means that we're dependent on them for their time frame.
Right, I'm just looking at in a constructive approach to be able to get, as a goal, to be able to get that done earlier, so. And that's certainly understandable, so thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Any other questions or comments or anything else for Shannon? Okay, thank you very much, Shannon, I appreciate it, and we'll look forward to the report. And we'll try to get a clarity on when the joint water plant numbers come over as well.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, you too, thanks very much. Okay, our second item tonight is the feasibility study for police court's relocation to 1 Overrocker Road to this site. And I think we have Mr. Simbari from Labella, who's online. And Tom, are you able to share your screen? Welcome.
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
We can.
All right, I'm trying to, I don't think, I cannot share my video, but I think I can share my screen. So you can't
Okay.
see me in person, but I'm here. Let me, let me try and share my screen.
Are we able to
And
change
make-
anything so that we can see his,
He should be able to share his screen. I just
Okay.
took off the.
okay, there, now we're seeing the screen.
Okay,
All right.
good. All right.
While you're getting set up, I'll just say that, you know, all the documents for this feasibility study are online. We also have one print copy that's in the supervisor's office, along with some, it has some big fold-out maps. The files are large, so if anybody wants the print copy, we have that as well.
All right, are we set?
We're set.
All right, let's see if this is going to advance the way I want it to. So thank you for having us here. I actually have Mike Hall on with me from our office as well. Mike's an architect with me. So my name's Tom Simbari. I'm a project manager. I lead the Essential Facilities Design Studio, and I'm an architect here at Labella. So our focus is essential facilities, fire, police, EMS, that type of thing. We were retained by the town to do a feasibility study here to look at the One Over Rocker site to see if that could accommodate the police department and the court system at that location. So that was really our focus. And if I can get to the executive summary. So I'll try to zoom up here in case you can't see it. So these 5 bullets was our scope of work. The first is doing programming. So that's a needs assessment with police and courts to determine the amount of square footage and type of space that both departments need. We also were to look at the existing town hall facility at One Over Rocker and do a facility conditions assessment on that. And I'll give you a brief overview of that. And then we needed to confirm the viability of the site to see if it could accommodate either police or both police and courts. And I'll give you the summary of that. And then one of the things we were tasked with is to look at the town hall building to see if we could expand vertically on top of that. And I can just tell you that we did do that and determined that we could not expand vertically. So we definitely needed to get into a horizontal addition. And then look at conceptual design options just to confirm fit on the site. Okay. So let's see if I can get to the next slide. I'm going to just kind of skip through in advance. I kind of highlighted the things I mostly wanted to talk about. So I'll talk about the conditions assessment here for the existing building. So LaBelle Associates is a multidiscipline architectural and engineering firm. So we had all of our disciplines look at the various building systems in the building. So that includes structural, architectural, mechanical, plumbing, fire protection, electrical, and site civil. So
And Tom, this is in the current town hall, right?
At the current town hall,
Yes, thank
correct.
you,
We
thank
did
you.
not assess the, thank you. We did not assess the existing police facility that was previously done. We did walk through the existing police facility to see how they function, and we did see some of the issues over there, but we did not report on the condition of the existing police station. So our focus was One Over Rocker. So our conditions assessment here for One Over Rocker determined that it's structurally sound. There's no major issues with the building. However, it is aging and it is in need of some repairs. We estimated that it needs about $3 million in urgent repairs, about $4.25 million in near future repairs, and then about just shy of $1 million for optional repairs, mostly cosmetic, and that being if you're going to invest that amount of money, you might as well get the whole facility upgraded. So it's about $8 million in work that's needed at the current building, regardless of whether police goes there or not. There's a budget need for that, which was kind of the focus of the conditions assessment. Then we went in as part of a summary on our needs assessment and our programming, and the details in here. I'll just give you the summary. So after meeting with police and town and the building committee for this project, the end result was that police needs just over 41,000 square feet of space to accommodate their needs, and the court system needs just shy of 16,000 square feet of space. So we're looking at just over 57,000 square feet. And programming is programming, right? We put it into a spreadsheet. We do a net to gross factor. We come up with some numbers just to see how are we going to plan for this. The design process ultimately will determine the reality of that. We did do some test fit here to confirm it. And as if the project advances, we'll get into more detail along the way and see what the actual building area will be. But the reason we do programming is to confirm the rough order of magnitude for the size of the building, and we feel fairly confident based on, we had several iterations of programming to confirm the area for both departments. And then another key piece of this project is the parking need. 268 spaces is needed to accommodate both police and courts. Courts needs 130 spaces while court is operational for public parking. So that is something we'll talk about. We did have many discussions along the way with police and courts, and both departments felt it was kind of important for them to share a building together. And so our goal was to see, well, could we make that happen? Can we design a facility at this location to accommodate that? We came up with 3 design options, and I'll review those here later. But so option 1 ended up being kind of the mid-level option. Option 2 was the most expensive option, and option 3 was the least expensive option. And I kind of gave some bullets here on pros and cons, or at least what was required. Option 3 seemed to be the most straightforward approach. After meeting with the committee, discussing all of them, we came to the conclusion that option 3 was the most viable. And we did some block diagramming of option 3. And again, I'll show you these options so we're not just talking through the words here. But the bottom line is the total cost for the project, and this is total cost, construction and soft costs, which would be design fees, attorney's fees, testing, those sorts of things. Contingency amounts, just over 46 million, 46 and a quarter, basically, to construct the project at the One Over Rocker site. So we did think it was viable. This sheet kind of gets into the hard costs. So construction cost with contingencies is $41.3 million. The soft cost is just shy of $5 million. And you can see the breakdown of what those are: furniture for the space, doing environmental monitoring, SWIP inspections, those sorts of things. So we can talk more about that if you want to. I do want to hit the concepts here, so I'm going to advance to that. So this is the existing site. I'm sure you're all aware of it. The change in elevation of grade from Burnett Boulevard up here to the Elks property is about 50 feet. So that provides some substantial challenges with the site. There is a nice level area here down along Burnett. That's nice. As you know, Town Hall is currently kind of a split level commercial building with access on the upper level here and the lower level along Burnett. So we need to maintain that if we want to use the existing building. And then getting parking on this site is very challenging because of all the grade change. And then up here is the Elks Lodge, and they have all this parking along the property line. So option one was basically 2 additions. Police is in blue, and the court system is in purple here. Police would utilize the existing building that would be renovated. We'd put a 2-story addition on the corner, and then a 2-story addition to the other side, which would house a Sally Port with courts kind of on a 3rd level. It's a 1-story building, but it's on an upper level to kind of get access here up off of the Elks parking. We would need use of some of the Elks parking area and expansion of that with option 1. Option 2 looked at a 1-story addition towards Burnett Boulevard off of the upper level of the town hall facility with a Sallyport addition, and then again, a 1-story court building similar to option 1. This was kind of nice because we could get some covered parking for police cruisers. However, it is the most expensive option because it's an elevated construction. So we're basically building 2 stories of structure, but only getting the use of 1 level. I will say that for courts and police in any of these options, for police to use the site and courts to use the site, it's very important to have circulation defined, and so that police can respond to calls and emergencies as needed, so they can have secure areas on the site. But courts has this large parking demand that the public needs, and we also need the public to have access to the police department as well. So with the grade change, it just created some challenges, and I think we overcame them. But just so everybody knows that, the site is restricted. We just can't put courts anywhere on the site because it interrupts the function of police. So that's option 2. And then option 3, which really became the preferred option, became a single addition, which is kind of why it drove costs down. It's a 3-story addition, matching the 2 levels of the existing town hall facility, and then an upper level, again, for courts here that we would have access to kind of off the Elks property line. These are conceptual. We feel that they work. They accommodate the parking demand. The next tier of design is schematic design, where we get into a better level of detail. We did take option 3 and did a test fit for police and I could just call this block diagramming. Some people call it bubble diagramming, but it's not detailed design where we're laying out every space. We basically take that program information that we did with police and courts, we break it down into the areas that are needed for each space. We accommodate the adjacencies of departments to make sure that everything flows properly, and we place it on the building. So we did confirm through conceptual design that this footprint would work for police and courts. That's the lower level. This is the upper level. It's kind of color coded to the program. If you look through the report, you'll see that the program, the staff support space is green in the program, so it's green here, just so you can make the relationship to it. We have some building support space, and then the 3rd floor becomes courts, where the courtroom, we didn't really lay it out because the majority of space for courts is the courtroom. But there has to be a connection between the Sally Port transfer of detainees and people going to court, getting securely delivered to court. So, it just can't be detached. And there's some we did talk about potentially having it detached, but the circulation and it becomes problematic, and the staffing model really becomes more challenging and from an operational standpoint. So I think that's all I really had. That was kind of what we went through. And basically, we came to the conclusion that everything works with the exception that we cannot fit all of the parking on the site. But our recommendation at the time was to open dialogue with the Elks Lodge because they have all this unused, for the most part, unused parking when courts is in session. And so I think the supervisor can talk more about that, but we thought that there was possibility to possibly lease some parking rights or acquire property. And I think, leasing, getting some kind of a lease agreement is kind of where we're probably looking at. But again, the supervisor can kind of talk more about that. Without this additional parking up here at Elks, we really cannot accommodate police and courts on this site. And that's all I think I have.
So I can just follow up on that and say that that was where we were in December, but we have had a series of very cordial conversations with the Elks, and we now have an agreement to take back to them, which would be a binding agreement for a 99-year lease on, I think it's about 0.8 acres. And the option that if the Elks ever sold the property, that we would have first right of purchase for that if they ever moved. We need to go back and confirm that with them, but, and it would kick in at the point where we actually begin construction on the site. In other words, if we made any changes in the meantime, it would not go into effect, but would when we begin construction. So I wanted to thank Emily and the legal team who's been working on that, and I think within the next couple of weeks, we'll be able to go back to the Elks and have that squared away. I had a question about the contingencies. Could you go back and talk about what contingencies are built in on that sheet for design as well as for general contingency?
I can. And I also wrote down some of the people that spoke. I did note their comments. I can address those comments if you want me to afterwards.
Sure, that'd be great.
Okay. So, as I said, construction cost is the hard cost. And again, these are estimates and conceptual. We're only at conceptual design. We don't even have, walls for all of the departments identified. So there's a lot to be learned and designed through the design process, which is, a substantial process. We usually, on something like this, we'd usually spend probably 9 months designing it. So, over the course of 9 months, we learn a lot as we get into more detailed design. So right now we're at, and we did it, I didn't say this, but I probably should have. So we did have a construction contractor do the cost estimate for us. We did work with them, reviewed their estimate. So we didn't do it in-house. We actually had a contractor. We find that we get better estimates that way. So I'm fairly confident. We did vet it out a little bit, but things change as we get into detailed design, which is the reason for the contingencies. So we get this construction cost with no contingencies. I'll zoom up here so people can actually see it, which comes just shy of $34 million. Because we're so early in design, it's typical for architects and engineers to carry a 10% design contingencies, things that we don't know, that we have to learn as we go through detailed design. So that adds almost $2.8 million to it. And because we're dealing with an existing building, we carry a construction contingency of 10%. So these are things that we're going to uncover: an existing site, existing building, as we open up walls, as we do earthwork, as we haven't done a full boundary survey yet. We haven't done an underground utility work yet. That's part of the next phase of work. So we may uncover things that we didn't know about. So anything that happens during construction as you start tearing apart an existing building, that's what this 10% is for. So that adds another $2.8 million. Sometimes I left this on the spreadsheet, an economic volatility contingency. I think everybody's very aware that since COVID, actually a little bit before COVID, but definitely since COVID, construction costs are just very unpredictable and they've escalated substantially. At one time I was carrying about 20%. We were seeing variations between estimates and actual bid numbers that were off by as much as 20% in that very volatile time. It seems to have stabilized a bit, except for small projects are somewhat unpredictable, but larger projects like this have stabilized. So I think we elected to eliminate that contingency of unknown because things happen. I think we can't plan for everything. So we've done our best to accommodate things. We did do a escalation contingency of 6%. So this gets us to the midpoint of construction. Assuming we proceed with design, we would be into construction probably in about 15 months. So spring of 2027 if we started design here soon. So that escalation cost between what we've estimated now and what prices increase is about $1.7 million. That gets us to the $41.3 million for the construction costs with contingencies. And you see these little numbers off here, $494 a square foot, $592 a square foot, and $721 a square foot. Those are costs that we're seeing regularly. So I feel confident. We always do a double check on where's this fall out cost per square foot wise for this size of project. And that seems to align with other projects, similar projects we're doing now. So we felt confident in that. And then the project soft costs, these are the things. So our design fees to do the architectural engineering, 4.75% of construction cost. We have a contingency for miscellaneous items. There is a cell tower on the site. So there may be some things that fall out of that cell tower design that we carried there. We would highly recommend that a construction manager be engaged in this project due to the complexity. So we have 3.5% of the construction cost, which is kind of the going rate. It can be more than that, but it also can be a little bit less. So we think we did talk to some folks and feel that 3.5% is the right number. SWIP inspections are for stormwater protection measures. You have to do inspections. So that's $35,000 under 5 acres of disturbance. You have to do 1 inspection a week through the duration of construction. We eliminated escalation because we carried it up above. There's construction special inspections that the owner needs to pay for during construction. So this is stuff like concrete testing, steel connection inspections, things like that. So that $40,000 covers that. We were not under contract to do a regulated building materials assessment of the existing town hall facility. So that's stuff like asbestos, lead, PCBs, mercury, hazardous materials of that sort. So we need to do that for a public building before any construction, and $20,000 is an allowance to do that, to test, sample and test the entire building. We threw an allowance in for furniture, fixtures, and equipment. Again, we haven't really gotten into all the detail, but it's a new facility, so we have $1 million in for new furniture, fixtures, and equipment. I'm sure we'll relocate some stuff. That's a placeholder for that. Appliances, things that usually aren't included in the construction cost. And when we get into data, phone, CTV, those are really specialty items, and some, usually we provide a path. So we provide the infrastructure path for those, but there's usually a special vendor that the municipality contracts with. So that we threw $200,000 in for that. Again, we can refine this, and we'll refine the estimate every step of the way. So we'll do schematic design, design development, and construction documents. We do another estimate at each one of those levels of design, so it keeps getting refined. And we reduce these contingencies, as we go through that process. So once we're at 95% construction documents, you won't see contingencies. You will see a construction contingency, and we'll adjust that depending on what we think we're going to encounter. But escalation will be reduced, and the design contingency should go away by that time.
Thank you very much, Tom.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at.
Right, I just wanted to go through those to show that we tried to be very, very thorough, and Labella was very thorough in thinking about everything from moving costs to legal costs to everything, so that we have that the number we have is inclusive and does have the contingencies in it as well. And we hope not to spend as much as we go along, but we've built in the contingencies in case. So, is there anybody else who had questions? Okay, yes,
sorry,
go ahead,
sorry.
and then I think Bill also, yeah.
Okay, you mentioned that asbestos, the testing about 20K. I understand that the building, are we talking about the public school building, right?
We're talking about the town hall building here,
building.
right, yep. And we don't believe that there are any hazardous materials, and we have, our internal records don't indicate any hazardous materials, but we may need to do some additional testing and there was some work done when where we're sitting, this addition was added to the building. There was some testing done then, so we're looking back through to see what we already have, but we may need to do some confirmations.
Thank you.
I think Bill Reuter had his hand up.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much. And thank you, Mr. Labella, for your report and your fine work here. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
So just a couple of questions at the high level here. So in your design contingencies, you referenced some square footage requirements from the police. Did that involve any understanding of a contingency for expansion, potential expansion?
So we did talk to police and courts. Courts felt that they really haven't had a need for additional space over time. Their space is slightly larger than what they're in now. That's what we programmed. But in general, most of that is really due to modern, current day requirements with OCA, Office of Court Administration, for how we have to handle the court process. For police, we went back and forth through the program with them many times. We did plan for future staffing, which wasn't substantial. I don't know. I think I saw a chief there. I'd have to pull up the numbers. I think it's in the parking detail. I'll tell you how many people. So we had future growth of 5%. So 3 additional patrol staff. So we did plan a little bit for some growth, but in general, Chief thought they were pretty good. The biggest challenge with police is that they're in a facility that was designed quite some time ago, and policing has changed. But not only that, how they deal with detainees. There's a lot more regulations. So we need separation of space. We need separate holding cells, as opposed to, right now they have a combined cell, but modern day policing and corrections, we would always do individual cells. It's just a safer process for police and how we process detainees when we bring them in. So that really drove some of the square footage off. But I will say we did reduce the program by over 7,000 square feet, I think 7,300 square feet, before we arrived at this final program number.
Okay.
And We also did not include, one of the things in the program is a firing range. That is not in the program. We did, it's listed here on our summary sheet, but it's not included, and we do not plan to put a firing range in the current facility.
Right, so that was, realized in your work with the police and going over the layout, the new modern technology, the requirements. So I'm hearing you say there is some room for potential expansion, and I think that's what you said.
Yes.
So, yeah, so in reviewing the localities of the Sallyport, the new and enhanced, requirements for transporting prisoners, evidence, and the flow to arrest, the flow to detectives and operations, that, I'm sure you worked hand in hand with the police on what you're showing us tonight as far as the layout of that.
Yes,
Yeah.
and we'll refine it,
Sure.
in schematic design. Again, the focus of the feasibility study was to confirm this site works. So we did the block diagramming, but we definitely need to advance that and work with police more and courts just to make sure flow works. And that's standard process,
Sure.
design process. So
And in your parking and volume assessment there, I don't know if you can put a category on it, but would you consider this a high, low, medium volume as far as traffic and volume? Because you have the complication, as you said, interesting, because you have courts during certain times, but police emergencies remain. So the flow is critical because, if you have police emergencies when there's courts in session, you have to operate effectively.
Correct, and that's really why courts has this lot up on the upper tier, and police flows kind of through this area, and they have a secure parking area. Cruisers are secured, right? They have two means of egress, and then we get public circulating through this drive here, so that public can get down to the police station. So it's just nice. This really offers nice circulation from a traffic standpoint. Police, the building the site is really kind of nice for police because it's in a good location. It's elevated. It has the ability to be secured, and yet they can respond efficiently from this location. So, I do like the location. It did offer some challenges, but, I think we've proven that we can make it work.
Right. So the parking and volume is, I can't put a grade on it right now, as it's a high volume, but it has to be a traffic study, right, for change of use. Is that accurate?
Yes, we would be doing a traffic study.
Right, so I'm not, there's 267 spaces, but the flow, the day-to-day flow and activity, I'm concerned about, and we have to evaluate as far as, understanding what currently we have with the courts, and then what the day-to-day flow and activity for the police station is. I'm not aware of that, and I need to understand if it's high, medium, or low category. That's what I'm trying to drive at, but we're not gonna know that, I guess, until we do the feasibility. The last question I have is, unless you have an opinion on that, on the traffic.
We definitely need to do a traffic study. We are introducing a new curb cut there on Burnett for police. Courts, when court's in session, there's going to be increased traffic flow there off of Overrocker. When court's not in session, I don't see a tremendous amount of increased traffic because town hall's already there, right? And so we do need to kind of look at, through the traffic study, they'll evaluate existing conditions, right? What's the traffic flow at certain times of day? We can have them look at the existing police area as well. If we need to get traffic flow, chief may be able to provide some of that data as well for cruisers coming and going. Really, it's shift work. We have the number of patrol staff on staff, so we know the hours where we're gonna have, police
Yep.
changing shift, right? I mean, that's the biggest time when we're gonna have, traffic flow for police is during shift work changeover.
Right, right, okay. And then just the last question, thank you. So the 46, the amount that you've, estimated, that does not include any additional, cost or soft costs associated with the parking, the enhanced parking, lot. And whatever improvements might need to be made, drainage or et cetera, that's separate and apart from anything that you've, calculated.
No, all of the construction costs are covered. The only thing that's not included in the estimate is any costs associated with the lease
Everything,
Oh, I
or
see.
property.
right.
Yeah.
Okay,
If
so
we
this is a
paid the,
total,
yeah, we've got to figure out if we're paying the Elks some rent for that, for those spaces each year, what that cost would be, but that's the only thing not included.
okay, so there's some, I missed that, but there's some, there may be some parking lot improvements, is that what's in there, or?
Yes,
Non-required?
so we're planning, if you can see this here, so this is the parking. Right now, Elks lot goes here.
Uh-huh,
We'd be leasing this amount of space, but we'd be expanding that over the property line so that courts can use it, and then building a retaining wall here between the two levels.
okay, so minor issues, okay,
Yeah, so we do have all that cost included in
Okay.
the construction cost.
very good. Thank you for taking the time to answer my questions, appreciate it.
Yeah, no, good questions.
Thank you very much. We've been here a little while, but we did have two people ask about the potential for geothermal and green design, so if you could speak to that very briefly, since we did have members of the public ask, it would be helpful.
Yeah, so, and I could quickly talk through those few things. So renewable energy, climate smart, we talked about that. As you know, so we have a new building code that just went into effect January 1st. It requires building electrification, although it's been rescinded or it's been suspended currently pending some litigation that's out there. Eventually, I suspect something will happen with that, but we do know about building electrification. We've considered that. As a matter of fact, I don't think everything is, I think we've maintained fossil fuels in this conceptual design feasibility study, but we do know, and I think it's stated in our summary that, Poughkeepsie is a climate smart community, and the supervisor has certainly expressed the desire to include sustainability in this. I'm not sure about geothermal because bedrock is so shallow. We would need to do a geothermal test well. We have not done one. We can do one. It's about $25,000 to do a geothermal test well, which can be used towards geothermal if it's determined the site's suitable for geothermal. I don't think it's going to be suitable for shallow geothermal because of the condition of the site. So we probably need to drill through the rock and see if we can get the conductivity through it. We could probably put a well field somewhere under one of the parking lots. That's certainly possible. But again, we're not sure of the viability of that, but we can certainly explore that in schematic design. We have talked about it. We just didn't include a cost for it. So we took the standpoint that the building has fossil fuels. The other thing we did was we haven't evaluated for full building electrification, especially since the existing building's using fossil fuels. Doesn't mean it can't be converted. We would need to change the electric service for full building electrification, which can be done. We just need to work with the utility to make sure we can get the power to the facility that's going to be needed for that, because it's a big facility. So there's more work to be done. We don't do that level of detail during conceptual design, but we would get into it during schematic design, certainly during design development. I'm just going to hit some of these other items that we talked about. We already talked the wants versus needs. I think I hit that, we did reduce the program by about 7,300 square feet. There was a mention about the prior Mitchell report, and I think they had various versions of reports. We do have copies of them. I think it's the 2022 report that had the $51 million cost that was quoted. Just know, that was 4 years ago. I would expect, and I haven't analyzed this, but my gut tells me that costs have increased about 20% since 2022. So you could take that $51 million. It's probably, in today's dollars, it's probably $61.2 million for the same project. And that only escalates it to 2026. So by the time it gets done, you probably need another 2 years of escalation, which would increase that some more. So hopefully that provides a little bit of clarity. I don't think they're apples to apples costs. Just consider escalation. And I think that's all I had.
That's it.
Way back when, I had another little question. You were at the very beginning talking, oh, sorry, it's Barbara Laird. You were talking about the costs for the urgent repair to this building. So urgent is a very plastic word. If we had to redo the roof here at the existing town hall, if we were not to move and we were to stay here in town hall, what is your idea of urgent for the HVAC and the roof? Is that a year? Is that 6 months?
I think, I don't know if Mike Hall, Mike can be freed up or not. It's definitely in this report.
Oh, it's fine. It's just because, the police need to move urgently, and that urgently has been about 10 years. So I just wondered how your urgent was framed.
Yeah, so the roof needs to be done. I think it's about $1 million for the roof replacement. Might be more than that. That's definitely in that. I think the HVAC system, all the air handlers are having problems and need to be replaced. That's also in there. There is, I'm trying to see where we put it. So in this report, we have detailed costs and we have a breakdown, we have a matrix for what's urgent and what isn't. But it is in this report, just so you know. I just can't quote it to you.
No. Thank you very much. I'll look it up.
Yep.
We'll find it. Thank you. Okay, any further questions?
More a comment. I enjoyed what I heard. Good location, elevated, accessible, and I want to thank Labella for a very thorough presentation.
It's been great working with Labella. Appreciate their experience with police stations in particular. So it's in Appendix 5.1, Barb, so it's there if you want to. Okay. Thank you
Well,
very much again,
thank you.
Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks. I'm sure we're going to have a lot more
Yep.
questions, but appreciate it very, very much. Thanks. Okay, so then what I'd like to do with everybody, if everybody can be patient just a little longer, is try to put some of that into broader context. As you can see from Tom's report, we don't have all the answers yet, and there's other things we're going to talk about now that we're still, getting clarification. But in the interests of both transparency and also public engagement, we wanted at a very early stage to indicate sort of how things have gone forward. So we can go ahead to the moving forward presentation if you're ready, Tim. Do you want to can you turn the slides? Okay. So, perfect. So I want to place what the police courts facility in the broader context of where we're headed next. So, if you want to go to the first slide, the second slide. All right, perfect. So our first goal has been to move police and courts as quickly as possible. The feasibility study indicating that both police and courts could fit here was the then stair step to looking toward what we could do about town hall, since town hall needs to move out. You can move to the next slide. And just to reiterate what we just heard, this is a central and accessible site. It seems to be near the areas of public safety need. It's a good location for the police. It keeps police and courts together. And we believe that in comparison with the proposal to put the police and courts on Boardman Road. This is a better site that provides better security. It's more, it works better for the police and courts, and there's less new construction. The proposal at Boardman Road was, since there was no building on the site suitable for a police station, the whole police station there is new. Here we're combining new and new construction and renovation. You want to keep going? Thanks. And just wanted to say again, this is one of the walls in the police, among many pictures that the police could and courts could cheerfully provide of hallways that are sideways and walls that are separating from the floor. It's the settling over at that site. I think probably everybody knows, but the town police station and courts were located on an uncapped landfill in the mid-1990s, and the building's structurally sound. We've done repeated air testing over there for the air quality is all right, but the building keeps sinking, and we poured an enormous amount of money into repeatedly repairing the roof, repairing the parking lot, and various other kinds of repairs to deal with issues like this one. So the police and courts has been our first priority. Want to keep going? Okay, so when it became clear that that was feasible, we began looking for options for town hall space in fall 2025. We were, with the urgency of needing to move, looking at office space on Route 9 for potential purchase or rental. To rent would be expensive, and those aren't costs you're going to recoup. But we looked at some other sites that either ended up having a poor location for town hall, or accessibility issues, or site issues, environmental issues. There were a range of things that we looked at, none of which worked out. An opportunity arose in December to purchase a portion of the Poughkeepsie Day School site on Boardman Road, which has been subdivided. As I think I said in one of my supervisor emails, this was not where we expected to end up. It was a Groundhog Day to come back to that site, but it works out actually really well that it's been subdivided and the school is moving into Kenyon House. The original plan was for the town to buy the whole site. Now Poughkeepsie Day School is staying on the site. They continue their program on Boardman Road, and this gives us the opportunity to focus on Gilkison if you want to keep going. So here's the timeline going forward. We have finished the police and courts feasibility study tonight. Town hall has to move out. We have to be able to move out of here before police and courts construction can begin again here. We did sign a letter of intent. The board voted to do that in December 25. Next week, the proposal is for the board to vote on moving forward with the police and courts SECRA work and schematic design. That is the next stage of design to put the police and courts here, and also the work that we need to do to complete the SECRA. That's the traffic study that we talked about, and stormwater management, and the things we need to do so that the board can certify that that we are not having any adverse environmental impact by putting the police and courts here. We are working on a building condition survey of the building at Poughkeepsie Day School, and that's to be completed by February 1st, with an appraisal and a traffic study or update are underway over there as well. So, and with an anticipated board vote on purchasing the PDS property in February, or going to contract, and then with the idea of closing in April. The school would finish out its school year there. We have if you look at the contract that we signed, or the letter of intent we signed, would have a lease back period until the end of the school year. And we would vote to bond for this project, the police and courts project, as soon as SECRA is complete. We cannot bond until the SECRA process is done, until we've completed the traffic study and those things, and then we would move forward to bond. Okay, so that's kind of a timeline. All right, I want to talk about what I think some of the advantages of this plan are. The first is that if you look, this is a rough idea of where our senior center, our town hall and recreation center, and our police and courts would fit, serving different parts of spreading across a very big town. It's a very, very big town, serving people in New Hamburg and people up in Eastdale and people up in Fairview. It's a challenge, but certainly the new town hall would be centrally located, and the police and courts seem well located for the next for the needs and call pattern. There's a lower cost than the prior plan. Again, we can talk about this further, but the current plan here is 46.2. The bond that was going to be floated in December 2022 was $54.8 million, and that was just for the police courts facility. It was not for town hall. There was a second phase. Ann, I think you went back and looked at the report and said you thought that everything together, town hall and courts and police, was estimated at 73 under that plan.
In the initial plan from
Right.
August, it was.
Right. We're purchasing only one portions of the PDS site and not the whole thing. We talked already about the repair costs if town hall stayed at Overrocker. And the other thing about keeping police and courts here is that Auto Center and the impound lot are both just up Tucker Drive and could stay where they are and don't need to move. This building, for those of you who just came in here tonight, is not the most accessible building. The lower level is not handicapped accessible at all. The upper level does have a ramp into the meeting room, but all of us who work here watch the difficulties of people getting in and out to get to the receiver of taxes. It's not as accessible as it should be. The Gilkison site would enable there to be a one-story town hall. All of us who work at town hall are constantly helping people find the assessor's office because it's nowhere near the receiver of taxes office and everyone's in different places. So we would be able to have all the major public-facing offices and the meeting room near one single lobby where people could walk in and find what they need to do. This building does not have a generator, and that building does, so that's another advantage. It would enable us to have emergency backup. The real, I think, value of that site that the board agreed in December, in addition to being a very good centrally located town hall, is the potential for recreational community space. There's a 300-seat theater paid for by the James Earl Jones family in his name. Their kids went to Poughkeepsie Day School. There's an industrial kitchen, an adjacent large community space, cafeteria space. There's additional space that could be used for community classes and meetings and events. There's actually a pottery kiln that nonprofits are already reaching out and talk to us about. There's a gym with locker rooms, small locker rooms. The gym, it's a large gym where you can have 2 basketball games going at the same time. And that's a huge community asset. And the recreation department has a whole lot of ideas of things we could be doing in that space that would serve community needs. There's a large playground, picnic tables, and we would be getting a soccer field, a baseball and softball field, and a small practice field over to the side. There's a lot of conversation out there right now about third spaces, right? Things that are not your home and not work, but other places where you can go, and how essential those are for physical and mental well-being, whether it's to get exercise, meet neighbors, park your cell phone for a while. We are now studying guidelines in municipal law as to the potential for nonprofit partnerships in that space, whether we would be able to work with the Kingston YMCA or the Artifact or other organizations to provide a range of programming for people of all ages. One of the most important things is that our town summer camp is at Greenvale. It's all outdoors, even on 100-degree days. There is no indoor space. And we would be able to expand and diversify our summer camp options using the spaces here at the new community center. The summer camp runs nearly revenue neutral. There's a lot of programs we could run in the space again that we would be able to charge for, or figure out what the combination is of where we're trying to offer something free or very affordable versus things that parents are ready to pay for, but they would like a good quality program that has a diverse array of options for different kids. This has already been mentioned. There is a solar array in the back of the property. We think it's paying it's paying a considerable portion of the electric bill. Is through that arrangement, and we're studying that contract now, and there's long-term potential for future green energy initiatives at that building. And the one-story town hall versus this one will increase some efficiencies. We have 2 separate copy rooms. We have 2 separate everything because first and second floor in this building literally park on opposite sides of the building and are almost like 2 separate buildings. We could definitely be achieving some efficiencies in the new building. I think one of the public speakers, Susan, maybe spoke about emergency hubs. With the generator, we'd have the opportunity to serve in that site as a place for a community center in case of power outages or emergencies. There's a kitchen. Whoops. Oh, we disappeared. That's right. And then there's a kitchen and space, so emergency meals could be served, and the gym you could partner with the American Red Cross, so you could imagine that being a space where if you had a serious public emergency of some kind, you could provide shelter and meals if necessary. This building is really not suited to that very much at all. Right now, the town controller and I had an extensive conversation with our bond advisor and with our bond counsel. The town is not, as you heard in the audit report earlier, is not carrying a lot of debt. The bond advisor thinks the town could borrow 3 to 4 times the estimated total of this project without impacting our credit rating or our financial strength. So the dollar figure is large, but in terms of what the town's capacity is to borrow, this is not in any way straining our resources. Not that we want to borrow 4 times this much, I wish to hasten to add, but that there is plenty of room for this. This is not taxing us financially in terms of the town's finances. And confirming these projects this year is going to enable us to complete, we were talking with the Citizen Financial Advisory Committee yesterday about having a capital plan. The town has not had a capital plan. These are the most important. The police courts is by far the largest thing on that list. So hoping to continue working with that kind of capital plan now. Municipal bonds tentatively to be paid down between now and 41, but there are different borrowing periods. So one of the things we need to think about is how long, how much are you trying to aggressively pay it off sooner versus how long. We don't know the interest rates yet. We will have more exact cost estimates as we go along. The key question I want to talk about is that we need to answer over the next few months is how much the average town resident will see on their property tax bill. And that's a little different than the question of how much the whole thing costs. If you can go to the next slide. One of the important parts of this is trying to reduce the cost for property taxpayers. And that's sort of got 7 strategies here. There are probably more. I hope other board members will also think about how we can, do this. First of all, we've got contingencies built in here. We can use the design processes to try to reduce our costs further. We can aggressively pursue grants. There are certainly a number of grants out there for public safety buildings. We're moving our police station out of a floodplain into a safer location. Green energy design has already been mentioned as a possible route to both capital grants and operational savings. We should be able to sell the current police courts building at some point when the police are out of it. We don't know at what level. It's currently on offer at 4.9, and we'll see. We also have several residential lots that the town has owned for a while, and I would suggest that this is a good time. We've been looking at this over the last year. This would be a good time to sell those, both for some income and to get them back on the tax rolls. That they have been they're not parks, they're not being used, they're just lots that the town ended up with. They used to have sewer or water infrastructure on them or something like that. We want to review the budgets carefully this year's and next year's and look for savings as we go along. I will say that the upkeep savings on no longer having to take care of the current police and courts building will be considerable, and that money can be reallocated to payment of debt. And then the most important thing to me is having new town revenue streams, having alternative revenues so that we can predict by mid-year which percentage of the cost of this project will not be borne by property taxpayers but can be covered by other revenue streams that we've been working on. One, for example, is that the Champlain Hudson Power Express, Chippy, has just gone down the Hudson River. It's just been laid. It comes onto our tax rolls in April for next year. So we'll have a sense of what that means. What does that extra tax revenue look like? We are working on creating a 501c3 or encouraging the creation of a 501c3 that could do some fundraising around recreation. And we have cannabis revenue, hotel, motel, bed tax. Sorry, I just read that slide backwards, but from bottom to top. But there are a number of things like that we want to keep working on. The last thing I just wanted to say is that that we're talking about this early in the process, not just for transparency, but because we all need to make a decision about this and what's important to us. And a community center, if we're envisioning a town hall, which we did not expect when we started this process, but if we're anticipating a town hall and community center, which is something the town has not had, a building is only the beginning of that, right? what really a community center is what happens in that building. And it's very exciting to talk to the rec department, and we've already heard from nonprofits and other potential partners who are excited about the potential offerings at that space. But this is an ongoing conversation this year about what our dreams are for the community and what services we might be able to provide. So I think that's it. Yes, thank you very much. Thanks, Tim, for helping with the tech. All right, that's it. Are there other things board members wanted to add, ask, talk about now?
Yeah, so I'm trying to understand the key priority right now is the police need a new place.
That's right.
And this current building also needs some renovation. We need to move out to do that. So we're trying to combine all this in this project.
Well, if town hall stayed here, and this is something we did not know when we started, but if town hall stayed here within, I believe, and we'll have to check, Barb, but I think it was like a 5 to 8 year time frame.
Yeah, I
Within a
couldn't
5
find
to
it in
8
the
year time frame,
appendix.
we would need to move everybody out of town hall in order to replace the roof, replace the HVAC system, and replace the windows. It's a scale of renovation that this building needs that would not be compatible with us staying and working here while it happened. So we can avoid those costs by
$8
saying,
million.
by basically saying, okay, we're gonna renovate this building for police courts, so moving town hall, in other words, the point is to say that keeping town hall here is not a cost-free activity. If town hall just remained in this building, there would be, within 5 to 8 years, something close to $7 to $8 million worth of work that would have to be done. So that's one of the advantages of this plan.
And doing the renovation in like 5 to 10 years will be much higher. Now we have a savings to doing right now. Okay.
Essentially, we would have 2 buildings that have been recently renovated, and our costs for the maintenance and repair and upkeep on those buildings would be much less. So,
Yeah, and when we were considering moving the police into the Poughkeepsie Day School area, that was not done with minimal building. There was a 2-story building being constructed there and a courtyard being filled in. So it was going to be significant construction there too. And there was never a plan on how to incorporate, including a rec department with a police station in the same building. An active police station where people are being arrested and processed and released again, along with hopefully running a summer camp program. There was never any plans as how they were going to keep both of these entities working in the same area at the same time. So this would give us an opportunity for something that we've been told repeatedly by people that they'd like to see. More recreation. They want to see a summer camp that has indoor possibilities. So to me, moving the town hall into the Poughkeepsie Day School is a win.
being right across from the Boardman Road Library, we know that the rooms, those community rooms at the Boardman Road Library that are available for reservation are completely booked. It's almost impossible to get a spot there, which tells you how many people are looking for community space for, for meetings and club meetings and events and things like that. So being across from the library would create a little bit of a civic hub too, I think.
It might seem that we're spending a lot of time discussing the change of moving the town hall to the Poughkeepsie Day School, and I think that's because we just found out about it literally 4 weeks ago. And so this is all new and exciting, but I don't want anyone to forget that the whole reason we're doing any of this is to protect our police and get them in a better spot. And I know I was talking to Captain Cropley, and we really liked the idea of the separation, that separation between the police on the bottom side at that lower level would be totally blocked off from the public, and then the public still being able to access here. And I am sure from seeing the other work that LaBelle has done in other communities with a new police building, it's going to look fantastic. The outside will be all fixed because that stonework is kind of deteriorating, and all those things that needed to be fixed with the $8 million will be, like Shantha said, wrapped up into this renovation and revamp. So I think it's great.
Just want to ask one more question. So as Steve was asking, so any chance if you want to move the police to the Boardman Library, Boardman facility, there'll be a new construction. We don't have anything for police, we have to construct.
It would need to be a new police station. That was the design several years ago was, the courts was gonna go in the back part of that building, of the classroom building, by covering over a courtyard and putting in a court there. But the police building was entirely new.
And we have a school, we have to compete with the traffic, board.
Right. There is a traffic study that was done at the time. I think it's December 14th, 2022. All the documents are there on that, for that board meeting. And there's a traffic study of the potential impact of a police courts at that site. We need to do a police study, a traffic study now with, the impact of town hall, which will be a lot lighter. Town hall is only open more limited hours, and the court, one of the things about the court is that the hours are fairly short, and so the court parking lot is empty a lot of the time, but when it's full, it's, for 5 hours, just absolutely packed, and then 4 or 5 hours, and then everyone goes away, so it's a difficult pattern. Anybody else?
I think Bill has some questions.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes, so, thank you. So just to get my understanding here, because I know we saw a lot of figures, so the total anticipated cost at this time is say 46 million for the existing town hall.
for the police
for the
courts.
renovation- For the renovation to move the police, and then the purchase of the Boardman, or the Poughkeepsie Day School is 6.6 plus the renovation is what?
That's the number we do not know. The roof, it needs a
Okay.
new roof, and that's gonna be the big ticket item. We're in the middle of a building condition survey now. By the end of next week, they were working on looking at HVAC and everything this past Monday and Tuesday. We'll have a sense of electric and anything like that we need to get done. So before February, we should have a number.
But,
Okay, so, and then forgive me, I'm still operating with a half a head and one arm, so, but, the figure, the 46 million, does that include the police retrofitting expense? And what I mean by that is we're gonna be buying, I'm sure, new computers, new radios, new communications equipment, fingerprinting machines, all that stuff. Is that included? That's a fairly substantial cost. But is that included in that 46 million? I don't think so.
Wait,
That's not a construction cost.
I think there'll probably be a lively discussion about whether we want to buy every single thing new or whether we want to bring every single thing over and buy nothing new. We have $1 million in the proposed cost for furniture and furnishings and fixtures. We were just looking at the numbers. There's another amount for moving, and there's another amount for appliances, and so there's money in there that we have to then clarify, but I don't think every piece of equipment will be new, but we are allotting $1 million for what might be needed.
Data IT.
Okay, well, we can dive down on that because from what I understand, and I'm not sure I'm entirely accurate, is that when you move a police station, both stations have to be operating in tandem before you cut one off completely. So you can't turn around and say, okay, today we're just moving the radios. Both of them have to be operating efficiently and effectively in tandem. So I'm not sure if that includes furniture and fixtures and to what extent that is, but there's some complications in that, regarding that. So I was just figuring, I just wanted to get an understanding if that was understood completely and that was in that 46 million. It sounds like we have to explore a little more on that.
Right. We do have those costs accounted for. We need to refine them, and I don't know about the transition week or whatever it is when you're moving from one building to another. We can ask.
Right, yeah, sure. And from a real estate perspective, I understand it was, you showed it as an advantage that, 6.6 million is less than 8 million. However, that doesn't include the purchase of another large building and another 3 somewhat acres. So, you know, in my humble opinion, it's better to pay the 8 million and buy the whole thing.
Right. Well, so, yeah, I
Rather
don't,
than the
right.
6 million.
I don't know how much we want to go deep dive into 2022. I mean, one of my concerns about that plan was that the entire town hall did not fit into the Kenyon house.
Right.
And because it needed to be disabled accessible, towers with elevators needed to be built on the sides of that mansion.
Right.
And then actually the clerk's office, I think, and the receiver of taxes and a couple of others were actually not going to be in the building because it didn't fit. But the point is kind of moot now because the Poughkeepsie Day School intends to be in the Kenyon house and to continue to operate in that site. So they're not selling it. So even if we wanted to buy the whole site, we can't. We can buy the classroom building and the fields, but the school will be continuing to operate in Kenyon House.
Right. Okay, well, that clarifies. It's sort of more per square foot, but that's all we got.
Yeah. And
that
also,
point.
moving into the classrooms, we're not intending on going into this building and gutting it and ripping everything out of it and putting everything in it new. We're gonna live with the walls and what they have in there now and grow into it over time and have it meet our needs. But initially, it's not gonna be very expensive for us to move there because we're gonna live with what we're given.
And living with what.
So we're gonna stay in the existing classroom setup?
We're gonna need to do some modifications for offices, for public windows and things like that. But we're going to try to focus on speed. That's our goal, is to try and we may in fact ask CPL if they are gonna do this work to sort of identify things that might be phase two, if we needed extra stuff down that were to be done on the line. We want our offices to be functioning, but I don't think that there's anything at all that we contemplate doing to the gym or the recreation areas or to the theater. They are fine as is. Those just, it's merely focusing on getting the town hall offices in the best way into that new space.
Okay, all right, well, thanks for answering the questions, appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Where would
Anybody
the
else?
meeting room be?
The meeting room, if you come into the front, there is a library there to the left-hand side that's a good size for the meeting room, so it should be usable. It's a really pretty space. It was originally an IBM building.
I'm just curious about the cost to move all this.
Right. We need a moving cost as well. We're gonna have to have a cost to move town hall, for sure.
I was just gonna say finally that the separation of recreation there, is also attractive. I know, like for parents, the Greenvale Park is currently the option for summer camps. 100-degree days, it's tough for parents when they're rain days. The camp has some challenges, and to what Ann said about using what we already have, there's Stringjendo that's offered the music program at that site, basketball programs, soccer camps. We just have the capacity now for more activities and new camp offerings and new goals for summer camp, and Nate is already doing a lot with a little. I can just imagine now with the space, we have the capacity to do even more for town residents, so I'm really looking forward to that.
Okay, this has been pretty thorough. Well, I'm sure there's a lot of unanswered questions, but we got to a lot tonight. I think the next thing we do tonight is if people have any reports. I feel like I've reported pretty thoroughly, but I just wanted to say a couple of things. One of which is that we have set a date for Community Day, Town Community Day, which is going to be May 3rd this year, and we are going to try that at Greenvale Park. We went to Bowdoin last year, but we're going to try to do it in a town park this year. The National Night Out is always there in August and works really well, so we're going to try Community Day on May 3rd. And also, I just wanted to mention to the board that we have been evaluating the pilot project we did with the Nesterly housing, and are reevaluating, and I think we have not been able to make a match yet. And we're in the process of interviewing people who are setting up ADUs to see whether anyone who's creating an accessory dwelling at their house would be interested in Nesterly, but we may suspend that. And legal said we don't need a board vote on that, but we may want to let the board know that we think we may want to save the remaining funds in that experiment and try something different. So, and I want to thank everybody who has worked on that project. I don't know if Finance Committee, I think the Finance Committee report was probably the audit more than anything else.
so.
That's what you've been working on, but.
That's all I was gonna say, is that this month we met with Shannon Manise, Ann Shershin and I met with her and Minil to go over the audit, and I keep learning a lot, and I thought her presentation was great. I'd love to see that the town is in a really good financial state.
Great. Recreation and Senior Services?
We plan to meet with Nate soon, but already on the website are tons of information about upcoming activities. I know the registration for the camp season is right around the corner. It's interesting to say that, but February 24th is when we begin the registration for that. But there's a lot more coming, and it's already on the website.
Okay, great. Ballroom dancing, among other things,
Yes.
right? I think they're looking for a few more folks to round out the ballroom dancing class, so.
Dancing with the town board stars.
Yeah, there you go. Joint water plant, is there a report of any kind?
Yes, we heard from Dottie, the director, that the salt line is good. The salt line has gone back down to New York City and the Atlantic Ocean. There's no more danger from harmful algal blooms. And Tommy Colgan and the rest of the Joint Water Board were really busy grabbing the last couple documents we needed for our final funding for the filter drain replacement.
Great, thanks. Bill, do you want to report on Tri-Muni, or should we save that till next month, maybe when you're back, or the next meeting?
Well, I don't really want to report, but I will. I think, yes, thank you. There's been some progress. Just to let everyone know that this week, and it's been changed till Friday, we're going to be having our engineers-only meeting. And our engineer, Andy Learn, will be participating, as I'm learning. With the primary objective to respond and come to agreement with responding, with facilitating a resolution of the draft order of consent from the DEC. And so there are some timing issues, some issues that Wappinger Town had, and we're gonna pull them in. We've got the spirit of cooperation now going, and we're gonna come to an engineering, resolution of what we would like to see or what they would like to see to accommodate, and hopefully DEC can make some accommodations so we can move forward. I've asked Village of Wappingers to construct very similar to the resolution that we passed in the town of Poughkeepsie to cooperate and facilitate the DEC consent order requirements. And we're also working with RBT on capital, bringing to current value capital expenditures and value of equipment, so that in case other parties want to buy in, they would have a buy-in price that they can do that with.
Okay,
So
great.
that's what's going.
Thank you very
So
much.
Thank you, Rebecca, and I will know more, at the end result of Friday, of what, I'll give you a call, I'll try to call you and let you know how that meeting went.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Bill.
Thank you.
And I would just suggest that the liaisons, the various committees are kind of getting up and running, and we might want to save the liaison committee reports until February, when everybody's had a chance to connect with these committees, unless there's one that people want to, if there's anything people want to report on. Hudson 7 just met today, so.
Yeah, she already stole my thunder.
Sorry.
Yes, that the salt line has gone back down, thank goodness, and the algae bloom is done, so we're in better shape. And if I can throw it out there for Historic Preservation Commission, that we have our next lecture is January 29th. They'll be at the Senior Center at 7 p.m. and it's about African Americans during the Revolutionary War.
Great, and this is part of the Revolution 250 series that's
Revolution
going to be going
250
on
series,
here.
yes.
Great, thank you. All right, and anyone
I
else?
just quickly wanted to say that I'm very proud in the Climate Smart Task Force. I'm a liaison for that, and we have a couple new members. And we had 2 new members, and I don't know if they have to get voted in, but they did show up to the meeting.
They do, I think it's on the agenda for next Wednesday.
Yeah, and they're fantastic, and they're very inspirational. And we also had another person who joined just to visit and participate and watch. So it's nice. We need some more people for the Conservation Advisory Committee. So if anybody knows someone, we'd love to have you join us.
That'd be great.
It's a different committee.
Okay. And which I forgot to say, there is a summer jobs, internships, and volunteer fair tomorrow at the Senior Center from 3 to 7. So anybody who might want to stop by and talk about volunteer positions in any of the boards or about internships is welcome. Okay, I think that the next step is to move to suspend the rules so that anyone who wants to speak to the board on any matter for up to 3 minutes can do so. So moved?
Second?
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by 6-0. Is there anyone in the room who would like to speak? Yes, welcome, Darby.
Good evening. Darby Walsh, Ward 2. First, I just want to say I appreciate all of the work that you, Rebecca, and your staff and the board are doing to resolve some really difficult issues in the town. I'm learning day by day more and more about them and how complicated they are. So I appreciate that. The question that I have is, and I think it was one of the key questions in your report, is there some sort of a time frame in terms of being able to project the impact on taxpayers? And if so, will that be before all these moving parts are moving more quickly, or no?
I think we're gonna know a good bit more by April. And if we are during the period where we're completing the SECRA process for the police courts to go here, and that means about what's coming onto our rolls for next year. We also need to know, we're gonna have our first full quarter of cannabis revenue so by March, the end of March, we'll know that. So I think by April, we'll be closer to a good figure.
I suspect there are a lot of residents who will appreciate the work being done, but also may then come back and complain about the tax impact. So.
Absolutely, we need to try to be as clear as we can about that impact and what we've done to mitigate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Is there anyone else in the room who wanted to speak on any item to address the board? Yes, welcome.
I'll make this as quick as possible. I have, written notes. Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity to address the town of Poughkeepsie. My name is Wayne Costigan, and I live in Wingdale, New York. I have a pending criminal case here, unfortunately, and since I'm currently barred from appealing Judge Wallace's unlawful order, copies of which I have for each one of you and your legal department, I thought it best to appeal to the court of public opinion, because the corruption in this case, to include the Dutchess County District Attorney, your police department, and now a justice of your town court, needs to be exposed to the disinfecting effects of the light of truth. Judge Wallace's handwritten addendum to an order of protection issued against me, the actual victim, is unconstitutional according to the American Civil Liberties Union. My own lawyer was gobsmacked, opining that it actually prevents the two of us from discussing the case. Neither he nor any other lawyers he conferred with in the public defender's office had ever seen such a travesty of justice, all stemming from a sign I held in public after the attack, demanding the arrest of the maniac motorist who assaulted me and my disabled daughter. I therefore call on Judge Wallace to resign, or at the very least, recuse himself from this ridiculous case. Judge Wallace therefore is the latest victim of the maniac who lost his mind over my political sign that read, "Hang Bibi and Biden." He put his life on the line and threatened ours in defense of a demented president that he supported. One of two war criminals I dared to mention in public and call for just punishment over their support of genocide. Because of the lack of an investigation by your police to include refusal to listen to evidence in the form of my audio recording of the attack, there will shortly be a federal lawsuit for unlawful arrest and the abandonment of a person with a disability. My adult autistic daughter, who was purposely abandoned at the crime scene and who went lost and missing for 4 hours. The unconstitutional order by a town Poughkeepsie judge will be included in said lawsuit and can only help to bolster claims of severe injustices against peaceful protesters exercising their God-given rights protected by our Constitution. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll drop these off.
Yes, if you pass them up to here, we can all get a copy. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the room who wanted to speak tonight? Is there anyone else online on Zoom who wanted to speak on any issue? Yes, Mr. Goldfish, welcome. If you can unmute. Are you able to unmute yourself? Yes, welcome.
Good evening. You can hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. Quick question concerning the Kenyon House. Have you guys considered a option on that property in case it comes up for sale in the future, or a first option on the property?
No, I don't think that we had. Again, that would be something for the board to discuss further.
Okay. And one other question I had for you was what's the backup plan if the Elks Club doesn't work with you on the parking? It seems like your whole plan goes down the tubes. Do you have a backup plan, or are you certain that's going to work out with them?
Well, that's why we were delayed a little while in December, is we wanted to make sure that the conversation with the Elks was cordial, and I think we do have we haven't signed on the dotted line yet, but I think we have an agreement. So, if that doesn't go forward, we will have to, think further, but it seemed like we're pretty close.
Great. All right, very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else online who wanted to speak? Not seeing any? Then I would move to return to regular session.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Thank you again very much. There was a lot of information tonight, and I really appreciate everyone's patience and questions and commentary. I would move that at 8:52 p.m., if that's correct.
57.
No, that clock is slow. At 8:57 p.m., I would move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. We are adjourned. Thank you very much again.